Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be doing an Armada fleet build for you. Since the Superstar Destroyer is out now, I wanted to do a fleet build that's talking a little bit about Piett, because since the rules for the SSD came out, come to realize a couple of little things about Piett. I was actually talking in the Armada Discord with a couple of people in the rules section. Came to some illuminations about Piett. I come to realize that I think there were certain things that I had expected in the way that he would resolve, and the way that he's going to work now, I feel like there's a pretty big bang for your buck that you can get out of him, but he's not as good as I had originally thought. So I'm going to start off as an Imperial Fleet here. We're going to add, I want to add the cheapest SSD. The cheapest Superstar Destroyer, the Command prototype. Not maybe the best ship out there, but I think, you know, we're going to do some work with it. So I'll put Piett on here, and Piett's a pretty good commander. So if you're not familiar with Piett, he is when a friendly ship spends only a command token to resolve a command, you may exhaust this card. If you do, that ship resolves that command as if it had spent a dial of the same type instead. So now, before the SSD had come out, I was kind of under the impression, hey, since a Superstar Destroyer is going to get, a token when it does a dial, basically you can turn a token into a dial, and since the dial also comes with a token, you're going to basically be turning tokens into dials plus tokens, and you're going to get like everything. So as long as you have another, like a Gazanti or somebody to pass it a token, each turn you'll be able to do 2 full commands plus 2 tokens every turn, and really kind of maximize things. And I thought that was kind of cool. Well, it's not quite that. First off, you are not getting the extra token from the huge ship when you resolve a command. It's only when you reveal a dial. So that changes the way a couple of commanders actually interact with a Superstar Destroyer, namely Thrawn, which does not count as revealing a dial. So you're not going to get a token from that. But with Piett, it's not you're not going to be revealing a dial to trigger this. So you're not going to be able to do all that. But what it does let you do is it does let you turn at least a token that's on you into a full command dial itself, but minus the token. So how can you make this work? Well, if you look at the stats on the ship, you've got 5 squadron, 4 engineering. Concentrate fire can be good potentially depending on what you've got. If you're using which title you're using, and navigation's always going to be useful. Nav is a really good option here. And so like if you think about like what are the 2 tokens that I'd want to do this most with, well, engineering token is going to turn what would be 2 points into 4 points. That's going to be nice, but I think most of the time at least later in the game, I'd probably rather just do a full-blown engineering command, and then I'll get the token along with that. Concentrate fire I like for certain builds. It's definitely my favorite command because it's fun, but I think the biggest bang for your buck here is either nav or squadron. Nav, because a nav token normally is just going to change your speed, but since you got no yaw, it's not that big of a deal. But here he's giving you something huge. He's letting a token change your yaw, which of course if you had a support team, maybe you could just put a nav team on there and do that. But I like the option for a squadron command, because instead of just activating 1 squadron, he's taking you all the way up to 5 squadrons, and that's a pretty big bang for your buck. It's still really, really good. So if you're able to have a squadron token on this, we'll be able to use Piett to, and that's kind of what this build is going to be based around. That's what led to this build, and this is going to be a 1-ship build. This is the only ship we're going to have, and that is definitely going to have some risks, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun way to test out the carrier version of the Superstar Destroyer, and we're going to have some strong stuff. So what are we going to do? Well, so I'm going to be going with a carrier. We know that, and one of the things that I want to do is, since I like having a carrier, I want to go ahead and add an offensive retrofit, and we could certainly go with boosted comms, which is very useful. But in this case, I'm going to go with expanded hangar bay. I'm going to keep people a little bit closer to me. I think most of the time, I don't think I'll have quite the need to push people that far out. I would rather go with expanded hangar bay, so I can increase my squadron value by 1. So this is turning Piett's commands into 6 squadrons, Plus, this means I can put 6 squadrons in here, be able to activate all of them, not really miss out on anything, not really lose, any of that stuff. So, and also I'm going to have 2, even numbers, or rather, I'm going to have even numbers of squadrons. So, it's just, it feels better. Even though with only 1 ship, it's not like I really can stall with it. I have to do the Superstar Destroyer first. But either way, having 6 squadrons is good, especially if I make them really, really good squadrons, I can potentially do a lot of stuff here. Now, if I'm going to go heavily into squadrons, the fact that I've got triple officer is really useful here, because I can go ahead and I'm going to start off with Wolf Yularen. Wolf Yularen is going to be the person that's going to allow me to continue to gain a squadron token even after I use my token to feed Piett. So this is kind of like the engine that's going to keep this going. First turn I'll take a squadron command and get that token. Then Yularen will allow me to refresh the token every time I spend it with Piett to turn it into a full dial. That is the problem. Now I am vulnerable in there. If I get a crit that says I can't have tokens or something like that, that's going to break the engine. I recognize that, but that's part of the risk of this. Every build has certain vulnerabilities, and that is one of the vulnerabilities here. I understand that, and so that's something I think you should recognize going forward. But to deal with that, to mitigate that, well, we'll start off with damage control experts. Damage control experts is pretty much stapled to just about every Superstar Destroyer. D. I'm going right past it, aren't I? No, it's not. It's not alphabetical. It's not. There she is. She's down there. Okay. So damage control officer, rather, is going to let me stop any special crits, which is always useful because a lot of those crits like to put face-up damage, and that's super huge. But we do have a lot of squadrons to support, and for the last one, I'm going to put Admiral Chirano. Chirano is 10 points, so normally too expensive for a lot of builds, but Admiral Chirano is really, really, really nice. So, basically when you do a squadron command, squadrons you activate can move even if they're engaged. When an engaged squadron moves this way, it's going to be treated as having a printed speed of 2. So I can still move my squadrons out of the way. I really, really like this because I used to run this a lot with Mauler Mythil. If I jumped Mauler Mythil into a big swarm of TIE fighters or X-Wings or whatever, next turn I could activate them again and just move them, a hair, just pick them up and put them right back down and trigger it all over again. And so that was a fun little trick to do. You didn't really care if you could only go speed 2 because you weren't trying to go that far anyway. But yeah, so and because of this, their printed value is effectively going to be 2 for this activation, but I'm going to get all 6 with Admiral Chirano. But if I have anything else that's going to increase the speed of my squadrons, I will also be able to push that up to beyond that. So with the FAQ says Corruptor will work with it, but I'm thinking I'll go ahead and put All Fighters Follow Me. Now this one is optional. It's not, you're not going to get a whole bunch of bang for your buck here, but this is something that you can. I think it'll be good for just that clutch situation where you do have a lot of entanglements and you do need to move just a little bit too far. Like you've got that enemy flagship that's just out of range 2, and they've tied you up with like 3 or 4 A-wings, and you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to burn this turn so I can activate all these guys, have them move, blow up the enemy flagship, and claim the win. Something like that. It's a possibility. So, it's good to do just for that. I don't know if we'll be able to use it a whole lot because we're going to be using our tokens an awful lot to feed Wolf Yularen and then with Piett. So, we're gonna have that mess going on. So I'm not going to have too many tokens, but in the event that I really need to use All Fighter Follow Me, I can just discard it and use it instead of having to feed it with tokens. So I'm just going to discard it. It's going to be like a one-shot. It's kind of the plan for this build, is treating that as a one-shot, because I need to keep the token refreshed with Wolf Yularen so Piett can then feed it, turn it into the full command. All right, so what other upgrades are we going to use? Now we're going to have a little bit of firepower here. So I will go ahead and for my turbo laser, I will go ahead and put quad battery turrets. People are going to be always trying to flank you on a Superstar Destroyer. People are always going to be going faster than you. So quad battery turrets is almost perfect, honestly, for just about any Superstar Destroyer build. And if you're doing that, I figure leading shots is also a really, really good option. There's certainly not the only option for Superstar Destroyer, but this is a really good option because this means you're going to get that blue die with all your red dice. So even if you just completely whiff, you've got the option of you're going to get your rerolls in this way on almost everything, and also even against, if I do a flak shot, even against anti-squadrons, if I happen to roll 2 blue crits, I can spend 1 reroll the other one, so it gives me anti-squadron rerolls as well. So leading shots is really, really, really useful in this particular configuration. I really like it. So we've got that going on. Now, the thing is, we've got a little bit more. We've got one more thing. And that is going to be our weapons team. Not actually using any titles this time either. It all came down to points. But for our weapons team, I'm not going to put gunnery team. Now, as soon as I tell you I'm not going to put gunnery team, you're probably about to smack me right in my mouth and say, what are you thinking by not putting gunnery team on this build? It's absolutely required. It's crucial. You have to use gunnery team with an SSD. I get it. But I think flight controllers is going to be more important. So I'm going to put flight controllers on here. Just because if somebody is trying to flank, so having played a couple of Super Star Destroyer games, one of the things that people try to do is they try to flank you. Nobody's going to just sit there in your front arc all day and just let you wail on them on your front arc. So gunnery team, while it is awesome, I'm not trying to deny that it's not awesome. There are usually other options as well. I would be really surprised if your opponent managed to fit their entire fleet in your front arc. I would just be shocked with that. And if so, then I would put my squadron ball right there, and then they don't have to move as far. And then Chirano is going to work perfectly for that because they won't have to move very far at all. Everybody will be lined up real nice and neat for them. But in the absence of that, I don't think that will be the case. Flight controllers is going to really address the bigger maybe weakness to this fleet, which would be a really strong enemy squadron presence that threatens to declaw me, or etc. by taking out my squadrons. If you take out my squadrons before I can use them to bring you down, then that's a problem. So flight controllers helps that. And so flight controllers and Chiranu both are giving every squadron that I activate some kind of really sweet benefit. And because I'm going to have a squadron value of 6 effectively, these are both actually giving me a lot of bang for my buck. So I really like having Chirano and flight controllers here. And I think it's worth trying over gunnery team. Just because of you're going to run into that, all those aces, those, especially like maybe those A-wing aces that are just tying you up and you can't, and they're scattering, and you need that extra blue for the accuracy and all of that stuff. So I just love it. And that is the ship. No title here. So everything else is going to be squadrons. So for squadrons, I'm going to start off with Darth Vader. Darth Vader is just he's just an amazing squadron. He's good all around. He's good for everybody. He is kind of expensive, and I totally get that. But he's also going to combo well with flight controllers. And the fact that he has escort is going to be important because I'm going to give the man here Soontir Fel. This is kind of an old combo that people used to run, Soontir and Darth Vader. You put them both on somebody, they have to attack Darth Vader, and then Soontir does damage to them. So sometimes people are just like, well, in that case, I guess I just won't attack at all. But either way, really, really strong combo here. I like those two. I like those two a lot. If we get really, really big anti-squadron fleets, I'm also going to put Mauler Mythal. Mauler Mythal is going to be super great because he's always super great, and that is some of my teeth. Now, Soontir Fel and Mauler Mythal are here primarily to deal with squadrons, whereas they're not going to do quite as terribly good to other ships. But again, it's 50-50. They're 50-50. But they're there primarily to deal with the squadron threat, where Darth Vader can hurt the ships pretty well, and squadrons. He's good against everybody. We will go ahead and add Merrick Steele because Merrick Steele is the greatest in the world, and he's the hero of all of the Empire. And he's good against 100% of targets. He's incredible. Also, these are all heroes. These are all uniques that all can brace and or scatter if need be. So that is also something that's going to help them stay alive. And that's another reason why flight controllers and Admiral Chirano are going to be good, because I'm going to get as much use as I can out of here, especially if you have to go after Vader first. And then we'll put Jendon. Jendon is going to... in case somebody does get out of my activation range, Jendon Relay 2 is going to help with that just a little bit, but also Jendon allows Merrick Steel to attack again, which is insanity on wheels. And our last one is going to be Major Rhymer. First off, he's a bomber, so that's always good. And he's also going to let everybody get that slightly extra distance, slight extra distance when attacking ships, which is going to be very, very helpful, especially when I have to try to bring like all 6 of these to bear on one side arc somewhere. I get a little bit more room to make that work. Just gives me a lot of flexibility, and it's I think it's definitely worth it when I've got to get that. And he's a bomber, when I've got to get that damage in, I've got to get those bomber crits into those enemy ships. Now, these are really strong ships. The heaviest hitter here is definitely Merrick Steel and Jendon comboing there. Darth Vader probably coming in at a close second because his overall ability with Major Rhymer right behind him. Soontir and Mauler are 50-50, but being able to move them all the time, I don't need Dengar or anything like that here. And then flight controllers for when we do have to go up against enemy squadrons. I think we will probably be able to burn through a lot of enemy squadron, attacks in 1 or 2 rounds of shooting, and then I'll have everybody available just to wail on enemy ships the rest of the time. And hopefully they haven't gotten, around me too bad by then. A 1-ship list isn't something you probably expect to run a whole lot, but I think this one is, the squadrons I think make it well-rounded enough. It certainly has its weaknesses though, primarily if something interrupts my ability to Wolfiel Iron and keep that squadron command going over and over again, I'm definitely going to have a problem there. And I recognize that. Slicer tools won't be as big of a problem against this one. Now, as far as commands, anything is probably going to work here. Navigation would be good. Engineering's definitely good. Even concentrated fire is going to be fine. And if somebody does slice you and decide to give you a squadron command, well, that's great too, because then all you have to do is now you can trigger all fighters follow me with your token, and you don't have to, so even against slicer tools, you're not quite so vulnerable. So that is also cool. If you get hit with a raid token, what you may have to do is then spend your whole dial to cancel your raid token so you can, do the squadron command. However, if somebody's bringing gauntlet fighters or somebody against you to hit you with a raid token, you should be able to take that squadron out before they get to you. That's you've got enough firepower to be able to deal with that as well, I think. We also have some objectives, so let's go ahead and take a look at our objectives. For our red objective, I think the big obvious one here is advanced gunnery. I think that's definitely the best option that you can take here for the red option, because nobody in their right mind would ever take that. You don't have gunnery teams, but now you can, I can just blast you in the same exact spot over and over and over again. That's like a dream come true to somebody to take advanced gunnery when you don't have gunnery teams on a superstar destroyer. That would be really, really cool. And for our yellow, I'm gonna go with fleet ambush just because it's I feel like you'll be able to split their fleet up. It may not be the best option, but I always like this one. I feel like I'm out deployed. When I know my deployment numbers are going to be a problem, I try to split their fleet up so that I can try to take down half of their fleet at a time before the other half catches up. And I like that one. Or sometimes I go with fleet ambush when I want to force all squadrons to wait to the end, but it doesn't matter if I force all squadrons to wait to the end. As soon as I deploy that SSD, you know where everything's going to be. So fleet ambush is fine. And then we'll go with superior positions as the last one. So I think a lot of people will probably end up going with something like fleet ambush here. But I think it'll just be really fun because I get to put my nose, they're like almost touching you, depending on where you put that first ship. And I think that'd be really, really cute. Really cute and clever. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. That is the build though. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section, and let's talk some more about Piett. Can you see yourself doing a single ship build? Obviously, you could tweak this to have it have more than one ship. There might be some deployment advantages in dropping some of the name squadrons and swapping them out for generics, and just so you can free up enough points to get yourself a Gazanti. You could probably even drop maybe leading shots and quad battery turrets, kind of foregoing some of your ship firepower, for more, support stuff. Maybe you've got a Gazanti with CommsNet that makes up for that weakness, and now you don't even need Wolf Yularen anymore. There's lots of different ways that you could try to change a build like this around. But I also like this build for another reason, and that reason is that you'd only have a single ship to plan, so you would never have to bump your own stuff, and it would make the game play kind of quick. You can get a 400 game in real fast if you're doing something like this, especially against another person who's got, like, imagine Super Star Destroyer versus Super Star Destroyer, and you're each just running one ship. I mean, it'd probably be a pretty fast game. You'd have a little bit of squadrons to move around, but I think it could be fun. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. And Gen Con is just around the corner where we're going to get a lot of new news. So make sure you click that subscribe button, click the bell for alerts. You don't want to miss when new stuff comes out. I'll be bringing to you just as soon as I can. Also, I will be streaming the in-flight report live from Gen Con, so stay tuned. All right, that's all I got. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.